Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
We're nearing the midway point in the month of November, and today is our nature unit. And we all love trees, don't we?
I love them.
We've got lovely trees here in Taiwan, but maybe we have the ginkgo tree, maybe we don't. I haven't really seen one myself, but we are talking about the ginkgo tree, or 银杏树, as you say in Chinese. But it's a living fossil, and it graces our cities. So this particular tree has been around for millions of years.
Yeah, it's very old. When you see that word fossil, you know we're talking about something that's very old. I had to look this up, Tom. I don't remember seeing a ginkgo tree here in Taiwan. But that doesn't mean anything because I don't know what they're supposed to look like. So once I saw a picture, I thought, kind of seems familiar. So I'm going to be looking harder in the future to see if I can see a ginkgo tree here in Taiwan.
Right, and of course, when we think of ginkgo trees, we think of Japan or maybe South Korea because they do have lots of this kind of tree there.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, the ginkgo tree, the living fossil gracing our cities. It's time for us now to listen to our lesson read from top to bottom. As autumn approaches, countries like Japan and South Korea grace their streets with charming ginkgo trees. Ginkgo biloba is one of the oldest plant species in existence, with fossil evidence dating back 270 million years. Ginkgo trees' fan-shaped leaves transition from vivid green to golden colors all at once in autumn. Ginkgo trees are often located in urban areas so that they can improve the city's visual appeal. Furthermore, being one of the most resilient tree species, ginkgos endure harsh conditions and thrive even among urban pollution. While the average lifespan of urban trees is around 10 years, ginkgo trees can live for over a century, making them a popular choice for city planting. In contrast to their beauty, ginkgos produce an unpleasant odor. The female fruits of ginkgo trees mature between September and October. When they fall and are crushed, they release an off-putting odor similar to sour butter. To reduce the smell and the risk of potential accidents from fallen fruits, some communities prefer to only plant male ginkgo trees on streets. Beyond their visual appeal and unique odor, ginkgo trees also have a prominent role in traditional Chinese medicine, particularly in improving blood circulation. Modern research, however, primarily focuses on the beneficial extracts derived from their leaves. They can boost the body's anti-inflammatory functions and help reduce anxiety. These extracts, with their anti-aging properties, are also utilized in the production of food-related supplements and skincare products. Despite being common in cities, wild ginkgo biloba trees are listed as an endangered species by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. This serves as a reminder of the importance of preserving this living fossil for future generations, as it's both visually pleasing and highly useful. Okay, everybody, it's time for us to discuss the contents of today's lesson. We're talking about the ginkgo tree. It's a living fossil, and it's gracing our cities. Ginkgo, this word actually comes from the Japanese. Ginkgo, I believe, is the Japanese kanji for it.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, in Mandarin Chinese, it's yin xing, I believe, which is pronounced ginkgo in Japanese. But we're describing it as a living fossil. A fossil, of course, is something from the distant past. It's usually preserved underground. It could be a dinosaur bone. It could be the impression of an ancient snail or a plant. Those are all fossils, but this is a living fossil. Like sharks, they're living fossils. They've been around for millions of years as well, but they're still existing. They still exist. And these trees grace our cities. If something graces something, of course, it just makes it more attractive. It's a nice complement to the appearance of something.
Right. I was just looking this up, and it says that it's native to China. So that's interesting. I would think it needs a little bit of cool air sometimes because it's a deciduous tree, which means it loses its leaves. It's not a perennial, which has leaves all year round. But they look beautiful. Yeah, the fact that they're calling it a living fossil is kind of fun. It's thousands of years old.
Well, millions, actually.
Well, here it says it's been grown for thousands of years. So,
okay.
I don't know. I'm sure it's been around longer than that.
Probably in China. Things in China have been around for thousands and millions of years.
So it's rich in antioxidants, Tom, and it reduces inflammation. So that's why people love this so much. I didn't know it was a tree. I first saw it when I was still in America. I hadn't been to Taiwan yet. And I saw that you could buy this herb called ginkgo biloba. And it was supposed to help with your brain. My mother wanted to try it because she was getting older. So we're going to talk about this. It's definitely gracing some streets in Japan and South Korea, a little more than it does in Taiwan. Although our engineer here, Hong Xianxiang, he told us that you can go see them in Nantou and Chitou. If you're curious, I'm sure they're around. We just have to pay attention to the trees we see on the streets.
Yeah, they're probably not native to Taiwan, but go check them out. They'll probably be pretty cool. But as autumn approaches, as we get into fall or autumn, countries like Japan and South Korea grace their streets with charming ginkgo trees. So again, they plant these trees along their streets in cities in order to make them more charming, to make them more attractive.
Pretty, yeah.
And of course, the zoological classification, or the biological classification, whatever it is, the Latin term for this plant is ginkgo biloba. It's one of the oldest plant species in existence, with fossil evidence dating back 270 million years. So if you talk about different kinds of plants or animals, we often talk about species, which are organisms that have similar characteristics and they can reproduce with each other.
Right. If it's a fossil, that means we've got some sort of petrified rock or some sort of form. It looks like it was cast in rock from millions of years ago. So we know it existed then. We may not have used it as humans, but it's been around a long, long time. So ginkgo trees have fan-shaped leaves. Yeah, if you look online or if you see a picture of one, you can see that they are indeed very pretty leaves, fan-shaped, and they transition from vivid green, kind of a really light, bright green, to golden colors all at once in autumn. If it's a deciduous tree and it loses its leaves, typically in the fall or when the weather turns cooler, those leaves turn to shades of yellow and red and orange. It's such a beautiful time of the year. Taiwan really doesn't have 4 seasons. I feel like we have 2 seasons in Taiwan, hot and chilly, not so much cold. But this is a tree that actually will have its leaves change. I'm sure it's gorgeous in the autumn or the fall.
Right, so it usually has vivid green colors in the summer, and then in the fall, those leaves change to golden colors like a bright yellow, maybe orange, and it happens all at once in a very short time. And ginkgo trees are often located in urban areas so that they can improve the city's visual appeal. So, of course, the cities in Japan and Korea all want to look their best. They want to make a good impression on the residents and visitors as well. So they try to decorate the cities with some nice-looking trees. And yes, they are often located in urban areas where there are cities in order to, or so that they can improve the city's visual appeal. They can make the cities look more attractive.
That's nice. So furthermore, being one of the most resilient tree species, ginkgos endure harsh conditions and thrive even among urban pollution. Yeah, if you're in the city and you're surrounded by concrete and pollution, and you've got all these cars and these scooters making all that dirty air. Well, these trees do very well in that kind of environment, which is great. Actually, trees help our air. It cleans our air. We need those trees. If something's resilient, it's tough. It's not easily killed or damaged or harmed. If you're described by a friend or a parent or someone in your family as being resilient, that's a compliment. They're saying, you've had some hard knocks. You've taken some spills. You've had some hard times, some tests in your life, some challenges, but you just keep bouncing back and you're doing well. That means you're resilient. And this is a tree species that does very well in what we're calling harsh conditions. What's harsh, Tom?
Harsh just means it's rough, it's terrible, it's very difficult to deal with, and we could have a harsh environment here in Taipei City because there's so much traffic, there's noise pollution, there's air pollution and stuff like that. So, of course, trees would have difficulty surviving here, but still the government manages to line streets like Dunhua, Beilu, and Renailu with lots and lots of trees that survive quite well. So they're also able to endure harsh conditions. And yes, indeed, these ginkgo trees can thrive in urban pollution. So if you thrive, that means you survive quite well in a difficult situation. Or maybe in a good situation. Maybe you're from Nantou or something and you've decided to improve your career possibilities by moving to the big city. You're going to move to Taichung or Taipei or whatever, and you will thrive in those places. You will do quite well.
Now, when the average lifespan of urban trees is around 10 years, that's not very old. Wow. Ginkgo trees can live for over a century. A century is 100 years. So that's why these city planners choose to plant them. If they're going to stay around for 100 years, that's a good tree. We'd need a tree that could survive typhoons, though. We have such strong winds. South Korea, not so much. In Japan, typhoons, no, not so much.
Sometimes,
but they have snow. We don't have to, our trees don't have to deal with snow very much unless they're way up in the mountains. A lifespan is how long something lives. If you're talking about a human, lifespan's average from, usually the average is like 75 years, although that's going down now. So the lifespan of urban trees is very short. 10 years is not very long. So they have to put up with a lot of pollution. I'm sure that's harmful also. People run into trees. Maybe there are cars that hit them, bicycles hit them. They're not always treated nice and tenderly.
Right, so if you're in charge of urban planning and you want to cut down your workload as much as possible, you'll plant ginkgo trees because you don't have to replant them in 10 years' time.
And they're pretty.
And they're pretty as well, but they've got a problem here. They've got an unpleasant odor, which we're going to talk about as our lesson continues. But right now, we're going to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是11月13号 Unit6 Ginkgo, the living fossil gracing our cities. 这是一份篇章结构的练习题，介绍的是银杏树 Ginkgo。银杏树在日本和南韩都会区是常见的景象，因为它们到了秋天，树叶会变成金黄色，成为都市当中美好的景致。不过银杏树不只好看，萃取物对人体还有一些益处，可以避免发炎，缓解焦虑，甚至于抗老化。好，我们一起来解题吧。在正式解题前，老师想跟大家强调，答题前要先看一下4个选项，在心中留下一个约略的印象，可以用哪些句子让文章变得更完整，甚至粗略的把4个选项排序。有些选项句子本身可以提供线索，让我们知道大概是在文章的前、中、后哪一段。此外，篇章结构最重要的就是回填的句子要和前后文连贯，在文意概念上承先启后。请大家谨记前后连贯、文意通顺这8字真言。秉持这个原则答题，我相信任何难题都可以迎刃而解。好，我们一起看第一题。前文提到 as autumn approaches 这个部分一直到 ginkgo trees， 这句话的意思是随着秋天脚步接近，银杏树引人注目，装点了日本、韩国的街道。这边请同学看到 to grace， 这个是帮后面的受词增添美丽、体面或吸引力的意思。比方说，我们可以说 The lovely flowers graced the dinner table， 可爱的鲜花装点了餐桌。 To grace 其实是一个非常正式，不过却相当实用的动词，可以用在感谢别人大驾光临。比方说 Thank you for gracing this conference with your presence。接着，野生银杏树是现有最古老的植物活化石，可以追溯到2.7亿年前，因为它们的树叶会从鲜绿色变成金黄色，因此在许多都会地区都可以看到银杏装点市容。而空格后一句则提到，一般都市里面的行道树平均寿命只有10年左右，而银杏树则可以长达100年，因此成为城市植树的热门选择。从前后文可以推测，这一段都在说银杏树的特点，让读者了解为什么在很多城市都可以看到银杏。所以第一题空格的句子也必须要描述银杏树的特点。考量前后文连贯，所以第一题正确答案选 A。 这句话表示，此外，银杏是韧性强大的树种，可以忍受恶劣的环境，即使在都市污染当中也能茁壮成长。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. It's our nature unit, and we're focusing on a very important tree, not only one that's beautiful, but that has provided some really great nutritional supplement for people. And we use it a lot in Chinese medicine in particular, but even in Western medicine, some of the functional doctors out there who believe in treating your body with food. Food is medicine. They actually recommend ginkgo quite a bit as well. We're going to talk about that. But we introduced you to the tree by saying that it has a beautiful change of color when the fall comes. It's really kind of a light, bright green. And then in the fall, like some of the other deciduous trees, it turns into shades of yellow, orange, and red. And then it loses its leaves. So it's been around for a long time. We have a fossil that had the evidence of a ginkgo biloba in it, and it dated back over 270 million years. So these are pretty amazing trees. They're very tough. They can endure harsh conditions, and so they've been a favorite for urban planners who, want to plant a tree and have it last for a while. These last a lot longer than the average 10 years of most trees. These can last for a century.
But there is a little bit of a problem with them. Here in the next paragraph it says, in contrast to their beauty, ginkgos produce an unpleasant odor. Now, if you say in contrast, that means you're comparing two things and they are generally opposites. I could say, for example, Clifton is a hard worker in contrast to his brother, who is a lazy good-for-nothing. So they, of course, have different personalities there. One is hardworking, one is lazy. So that's a contrast there. We have opposites there. And in contrast to their beauty, they actually have an unpleasant smell or odor. We have different words to describe smells. Smell is a general term. If it's good, it's an aroma. And if it's bad, it's an odor. And in this particular case, it's a bad smell.
Yeah, if you say smell, that's neutral, as Tom said. It's general, it's neutral. If something smells bad, it's definitely got an odor. A scent is usually more positive. Fragrance is really good because that smells wonderful. But yeah, these have an unpleasant odor. The female fruits of ginkgo trees mature between September and October, and it's the female trees that smell. If you go and you look at pictures of ginkgo trees, not all of them will have their fruits, but some do. They're little green balls, it looks like. So I guess that's what's making the bad smell. When they fall and are crushed, of course, if they're along the street, people would be walking on the sidewalk. And if things fall from a tree, you're stepping on them, so you're crushing whatever you're stepping on. If you crush something, you flatten it to where it's in pieces or like dust. Crush it. Sometimes we use crush, though, as a slang term. If you did really well on your test, you could say, I crushed it. I crushed it, Mom. I crushed it, Dad. I did really well. So that is a familiar slang term we use. But here, crush just means to press something very flat.
Right, so they fall from the trees and people walk by and step on them. They crush the fruits of the ginkgo tree, and when that happens, they release an off-putting odor similar to sour butter. Okay, so that must be a bad smell. If something's off-putting, it is unpleasant. It's not really something that you want to smell. Like for me, sometimes when I clip my toenails or clean my feet, there's this really bad smell coming from my feet. I could say it's an off-putting odor. And I have to plug my nose when I do that. It really smells terrible.
It doesn't have to be an odor for you to use off-putting. If somebody has a personality that's difficult to get along with, you can just say, yeah, he's a little off-putting. Kind of makes you want to turn away from someone. So this is a scent, an odor that makes people want to go, oh, yuck, what's that?
You could just say an unpleasant odor, a bad smell. And this particular odor is similar to sour butter, maybe sour milk or sour yogurt or whatever. That's probably something that smells really bad. And to reduce the smell and the risk of potential accidents from fallen fruits, some communities prefer to only plant male ginkgo trees on streets. So that is done to reduce the smell and to reduce the risk of potential accidents because people might slip on the fallen fruits. They're round, and if you step on them a certain way, you might fall down and break your leg or something like that. So communities will make the choice to plant only male trees because they don't have those stinky fruits.
I was just going to say, that's another word for it. Stinky odor. Ooh, what smells? What stinks?
Like stinky tofu.
Yeah. I can see why they would want to reduce the risk of potential accidents. And you're right. If those round balls, fall from the trees, before you crush them, you might just skid on them. And the elderly could definitely fall. People like to walk here a lot, which is great exercise. So some communities, we've learned, prefer to only plant the male ginkgo trees on streets because they don't have the fruit. Only the female trees will produce that fruit. And again, the fruit matures or, appears and falls off between September and October. You'll see them then. That's when they get big enough to fall off the tree. Now, beyond their visual appeal and unique odor or unique smell, ginkgo trees also have a prominent role in traditional Chinese medicine. Oh, they sure do. And because Chinese medicine is also popular worldwide now, ginkgo biloba is very popular in the West as well, in Western medicine, especially functional medicine, which I'm a big fan of now. So prominent, what does that mean? It means someone could be important if someone's a prominent member of a political party or something, prominent member of a school, faculty, someone who's famous, someone who's important. But it can also mean big, just having a really big role in something. Or if it's prominent, if someone has a prominent nose, kind of sticks out. A lot of the foreigners, we have prominent noses that kind of are a little big for our faces. That can be used as well.
Indeed, so it plays a very significant or important role in traditional Chinese medicine, particularly or especially in improving blood circulation. Circulation just refers to things moving around in a system. In this particular case, we're talking about the blood moving through your body. You want to improve that circulation so you're healthier. And modern research, however, primarily focuses on the beneficial extracts derived from their leaves. If something's beneficial, well, it benefits you. It's good for you. You can have something that helps you from that thing. And we have these extracts, things that are pulled out from the leaves in a chemical process, and then they're made into pills that you can take to improve your health.
They can boost the body's anti-inflammatory functions and help reduce anxiety. This is big. We found out that people who didn't do very well with COVID had a lot of inflammation in their bodies. They were eating perhaps too many carbs. They were overweight. Those can produce inflammation inflammation, which is hard on all of our body's organs. These extracts, though, have anti-aging properties. Yay! They make you younger. And they're also utilized or used in the production of food-related supplements. I mentioned that there are a lot of herbal supplements you can buy that have ginkgo biloba in them. And it's also used in skincare products, which usually are only for women. But nowadays, men are using lots of skincare products.
Well, this all sounds like very good news, but now we've got some bad news. Despite being common in cities, wild ginkgo biloba trees are listed as an endangered species by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. So again, they are common in cities, but they aren't so common in the wild and forests and things like that. They are listed as endangered, and this serves as a reminder of the importance of preserving this living fossil for future generations, as it's both visually pleasing and highly useful. So yes, we should work hard to preserve this living fossil for future generations. It is visually pleasing. Visually means having to do with vision or with seeing. And of course, if you look at these trees, you'll think they're wonderful. They're great.
Pretty. Yeah.
And yes, they turn colors in fall. And they're also useful to make to make cities more livable and to produce health supplements to help us live longer.
These are all great things. Right now, we're out of time, so we're going to turn the time over to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to sign off.
接着请看第二题，前文提到银杏树外观很美丽宜人，但是银杏树有个缺点，就是味道不好闻。银杏树的雌性果实9月到10月间会成熟，果实掉落被压碎的时候，会释放出一股股难闻的气味，让人倒胃口。可以看得出来，第二段和第三段是明显的对比。第二段讲的是银杏树的优点，也就是外观非常引人注目，可以美化市容，所以在日本、韩国很多都会区都可以看到。不过第三段则告诉我们，银杏树最大的缺点就是果实会发出难闻的气味。既然这一整段都在谈论银杏树的缺点，也就是难闻的气味，考量前后文连贯，空格要填入的句子也必须跟气味相关，因此第二题选 C， 意思是为了减少这种气味和防止果实掉落可能引起的危险，一些社区偏好在街道上仅仅栽种雄性的银杏树。后面接着第三题，第四段继续介绍银杏树还有什么特点。除了外观好看但气味难闻以外，银杏树在传统中药当中扮演了非常重要的角色，可以改善血液循环。从叶子里可以萃取出对人类健康有益的物质，而空格之后的句子表示银杏的萃取物还有抗老化的特性。这里的 properties 不是资产，而是属性、特质。因此我们知道第三题空格所应该选择的句子也必须要介绍对身体健康有什么好处。所以第三题选 D， 意思是银杏呢还可以增加身体的消炎功能，还有协助缓解焦虑。紧接着请看第四题，后面提到这提醒我们保存这种活化石对未来的世代非常重要，因为银杏既具有视觉上的吸引力，又有极高的实用价值。后面的句子不会端端的告诉我们要好好为后世的子孙保护银杏这个活化石，因此前面的句子应该要告诉读者银杏目前的状态如何如何。所以第四题选 B， 意思是尽管在都市中常见，野生银杏树被国际自然保护联盟列为濒危物种。好，以上是我们对这篇篇章结构练习题的讲解，希望同学透过练习更熟悉答题技巧了。
That's it, guys. Thanks for joining us. And we hope you'll join us for our next unit, whatever that might be. It'll be interesting. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.